So I've just read an article. I can't remember what newspaper it was in. Just stating a reason why house prices in the UK are dropping. Now, the drop this year in London is around 1.6%, they said, and then or is it 0.9 this year and 1.6 next year. So that is a prediction. What they forecasted, what the house prices in London are going to be like. So it bogs the mind how actually they can call that a crash. I mean, the newspaper did actually mention this is a crash of next year. 1 in 3 people think there's going to be a house price crash. Now, for a few reasons, I don't think there's going to be a house price crash. Now, firstly, there's always a demand. Overseas investors can park their money in British property and get it tax-free. Pretty much all they have to pay is council tax. In America, you have to pay property tax, whereas in the UK you don't. So essentially, you can store money in the UK and get some growth out of it. Now, if they're saying that there's not going to be no growth, a foreign investor more than likely isn't going to put their money in here. But some of them do. Some of them still do. It's not really British people buying London houses, especially the expensive part of it. A crash in itself is a big drop. A correction is 10%. Anything below 9-10%, most economists say is a crash. But anything between 9 and 10% is a correction. It's just the market adapting. The demand's gone down 1.6%, that means to me. It's certainly not going to be a crash. Would I buy property in London? No, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't have bought it for the last 10 years, simply because I think the perceived value of the property is way above the expectation of most people. I think properties, maybe a 4-bedroom house, probably would be about £120,000 in my eyes. I'll be willing to pay for it. Even then, I think a huge amount. And it's simply down to the supply and demand. There's no demand. London, they say they're building houses, but there's no space. You're getting these little silly houses and big apartments, buildings with tiny little flats in it that are renting for £1,500 a month. If you don't have a good job, you're not going to live there. And most of the properties that are being built are just being built to sell, and it's the land that costs so much. I read in another article in Oxfordshire, 25 grand for agricultural land. If that turns into an actual residential permission planning granted, you'll be looking at about £4-5 million, and that's a huge amount. So it's just land that's so expensive, and it's just so in demand because it's investment. A property will come along, see the land, pick it up, hold it into someone. They actually get the planning permission granted, and then that's it. It's done. They flip it. They build the big houses. They sell each individual bit off. Investors buy it to rent out. There's no one buying property to own. It's just a certain group of people that are managing, to buy that on, and they're either selling it on or they're waiting for the capital growth. But I don't think the house market will crash in London.